Hello and welcome everyone. I am Epicharismatic and today I'm going to be doing another musical tier list video, this time ranking the albums of international sensation Rihanna. Now, I've been a fan of Rihanna's for a very long time, so I feel like I'm pretty qualified in ranking her albums, although I have to be honest, I haven't really been consistently listening to her albums until she came out with Good Girl Gone Bad. So I had to recently give Music of the Sun and A Girl Like Me a listen to. And so I think I could still give my opinions on those two, but I have to be honest, I will be a little bit biased against those two albums. But I did give them a listen, unlike Shakira's albums that she came out with when she was still a teenager. I haven't really listened to those back in the Shakira video. But for this one, I've listened to every single Rihanna album, and so I can almost completely fairly rank these albums. Regardless, I think most Rihanna fans probably haven't listened to every single album that she's released, and more specifically those first two that she's released. But without further ado, I am just going to go ahead and start with her first solo album, Music of the Sun. Now, first things first, I like the title of this album. I believe it is also the title of one of the tracks on this album, and it's not too bad of a track. It's a decent title track, but I wouldn't say it's anything special, really. I don't think it's a bad song, but I don't think it's the most amazing song out there. So that's what I have to say about the title track. But the most popular track on this album, I have a lot to say, or not so much a lot, but just I have high regard for this song. Ponder Replay, her first big hit in general, is a good way to say it. It's a great song, very, very great song. But I have to be honest, the majority of the songs on this album, I will say most of them are reggae songs. And I like reggae music in general, but I don't think the reggae songs on this album were done particularly well. I really don't think so. I feel like every time I start one of the songs on this album and I start to hear that little reggae guitar playing, I just feel a little bit of dread. Like, oh, I'm not gonna like this song. Because I listened to the first couple that were a reggae genre, and I didn't like them. They were very, very boring, very, very simple, almost overused reggae strum patterns, I guess, or chord progression. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but it just sounded very generic, like a generic reggae song, over and over and over again. Even though it was like 3 to 4 different songs I was listening to, it all sounded like the same song. So I didn't really like that. I would say the only other songs I liked on this album, aside from the obvious Ponder Replay, is Let Me and also Rush featuring Cardinal Official. So I would say those two are like a little bit faster paced. Songs that are pretty danceable too. So I think that's pretty fitting that along with Ponder Replay, those three are basically the most danceable songs on the album, and they're really the only ones I like. So as for my ranking of this album, this might be sad, but I am going to have to rank this album a D. It's very harsh, but I almost want to say that Ponder Replay saves it from being possibly an F tier album, but also I don't even have F as an option, so D is the lowest I can go, but it's just boring. Without those few songs that she has on this album, the rest of the songs are incredibly boring. They're not super enjoyable to listen to. I found myself wanting to turn the music off, to be honest. So I feel like that's a pretty clear indicator that the album's not that great. So I'm sorry, Rihanna, but you had a tough time with this first album. I do believe that when it comes to this first album, and I think the second one as well, she wasn't really happy with the image that she was putting forth on these two albums. So I do remember hearing that people kind of wanted to make her like a mini Beyonce or something like that, and not really let her have her own style and her own look and her own sound to her music. They really just wanted to make her a copycat of Beyonce. And I don't even think she really sounded like a copycat of Beyonce, especially not on this album, but she definitely sounded underdeveloped. I think that's a good way to put it. She sounded underdeveloped. She didn't sound unique at all. And as far as I know, I don't think she even really herself loves this album that much. I don't know though, but I kind of hope not because it's not that good. I'm sorry. It's very harsh starting out, but I don't like the album. I wish I did. I really do. So, now I'm going to start with her second album, A Girl Like Me. So, instantly I found that this album is definitely better than the last one. It opens up with SOS, which if you don't remember, that's the one where she samples the song Tainted Love by Soft Cell, and it's so good. And then it also has Unfaithful in it, which is another song of hers I also love. So already she has these two kind of big songs that people still remember her for. And even the rest of the songs on this album, like even We Ride, it's like a little simple and basic and kind of still fitting that innocent girl image, I guess. It's still pretty good. It's still pretty good. And then, I also like Break It Off. It's featuring Sean Paul. So I would say for A Girl Like Me, the thing is, I do still find the rest of the songs kind of boring. And again, I have this issue of like any of the other reggae songs on this album, I don't like. For some reason, whoever wrote these songs, because I don't think Rihanna wrote them. If she did, she only co wrote. Because I don't think she's really been the main writer of most of her songs in her career. But whoever was writing these songs for her, they were not doing her justice because they really were like, I'm going to write the most bland sounding songs, and you're going to have the most not monotonous, but just boring melodies that no one's really going to feel anything towards. And then that's it. And then you're just going to sing it, and then you're going to sell it because you're beautiful, and that's going to be enough to sell it. Which, I'm not saying that's a bad thing to just sell using beauty, but, I want some good music too. So I would say for this album, I do like it more than the last album. Can I really say it's a C tier album though? But could I say it's a D tier album and it has SOS and Unfaithful? I guess when I think about it, it only has 2 songs that I like. Oh man, I gotta be fair and I gotta be honest. Well, I also like Break It Off, so that's 4 songs. But there's like 13 on the whole album. I'm sorry. But a 4 out of 13, that's a D. I'm sorry, Girl Like Me, you're also gonna be in D tier. But you know what? It is A-okay, because now we are gonna be getting into Good Girl Gone Bad. And when I tell you, this album, amazing. It's amazing. First of all, it opens up with Rihanna's biggest hits of all time, Umbrella, featuring Jay-Z. Enough said, right there. This album's already amazing. But no, along with that, we have Don't Stop the Music, Shut Up and Drive, Hate That I Love You, Rehab. Those were the big singles that came out at that time when that album was released. And those are all solid singles. I still listen to all of those singles to this day. So there's something to be said about that. And then I think some of the other songs that are a little more obscure that people don't really know as much about that I would say are a little underrated. First off is Breakin' Dishes. I like that song a lot. I think it's underrated. And then also the title track, Good Girl Gone Bad. It is a really good song that I think people don't talk about enough. It's got this acoustic guitar, a very simple, typical 4-chord progression, but the melody is there and it's catchy. And it kind of explains the image of the whole album of this good girl gone bad, where she was this good girl who stayed at home and was like a good girlfriend to her boyfriend or whatever. But she's finding out this guy's not being a good guy, so what's the point of being a good girl? And then she changed her whole image based off of that, dyed her hair black, cut it short, had this like a smoky eye look makeup wise. So she really did a great job of not only having the music exemplify her new image, but also literally her image, the way she looks too. And she is very beautiful. I've already said it earlier, being like, oh, you're going to sell this album just based off of beauty. But now she has the beauty, she has the message, she has the good music, she has everything working together in her favor with this album. And I think she just does a great job with it. And I think I will say some of these songs are like, they're only okay. So I would say overall, I'm kind of teetering between A and B because she has so many like 10 out of 10 songs that it makes me want to put it in A, but I'm like, but it also has a bunch of songs that I don't really care for. Like they're good, but they're not anything special or amazing. I'm going to put this in B tier. I think B tier is fair. I think I would need to love more of the songs on this album for it to be A tier. But the songs that I love from this album, especially the singles from this album, they carry. They carry a lot. They have a lot of heavy weight, but I don't think they carry the album enough to say that it's an A tier album. I think that would be giving it too much praise. But this is a really, really good B tier album. I'm not saying B tier like this is a lower tier album by any means, even though it's literally in B tier and it's lower than the other two tiers, but you get what I'm saying. This is a solid B tier album. Like, if even a few of the other songs were just a little bit better, this album would be A tier for me. But I think just based on what's on here, based on the number of songs, based on the songs I like versus the songs that I think are only okay, I think B tier is a fair assessment of this album and it's a fair ranking of this album. So that's what I'm going with. And now we have Rated R. First of all, I love the play on the idea of rated R, like a rated R movie, which often is a horror movie, but also could be other movie genres too. And then the R standing for her name, Rihanna. I like that a lot. And this album starts with an interlude. I think it doesn't count as an interlude if it's the first track. I think it still does. But it starts with an interlude called Madhouse, where she's essentially, I think it's someone else actually, but essentially someone's like, welcome to the madhouse. And honestly, it gives me a very Halloween vibe in the best way. I like it a lot. It's actually pretty fitting that I'm filming this in October before Halloween. Maybe I'll just give this album a listen to, or at least this interlude a listen to, just for the Halloween vibes, you know, the spooky vibes. But then aside from this song, she has a lot of other great songs on this album. She has Wait Your Turn, Hard, featuring Jeezy, Rockstar 101 featuring Slash, Russian Roulette, Rude Boy, who could ever forget Rude Boy, Te Amo. And then I also really like Cold Case Love as well. I think that one's not really as well known, along with G4L. So she has a lot of great songs on this album, a lot of solid songs, a lot of singles, just like the last album. She has a lot of big singles. So the big singles, I already mentioned them, but I would say like Hard, Russian Roulette, Rude Boy. I would say those three especially are the huge singles, and then even Te Amo was kind of popular too at the time. But along with the singles, I also really like the last song, which is literally the last song on the album. I think it's an underrated song. I think Rihanna gives some pretty good vocals on that song too. And it's pretty catchy. It's a catchy song to listen to. So if you've never listened to it, I definitely highly, highly recommend it. Also, Cold Case Love, which comes right before that song. If you haven't listened to that one as well, definitely listen to that one. Extremely underrated. So I think songs like Stupid in Love and Firebomb and Photographs, I think they're okay. I don't think they're bad at all. I just think they're only okay. But I think this time for this album, rank wise, so I think I really genuinely like the majority of these songs a lot. So I'm happily going to be able to rank Rated R an A tier album. I think it's an A tier album. I almost want to rank it B tier only because I feel like the production quality on this album sounds a little bit dated. So I feel like when I listen to this album nowadays, it sounds like an album that came out in 2009, production wise. I think it kind of sounds a little bit outdated, a little almost stale, but I think that's why maybe, I don't know. I don't think it's fair enough to give it a B tier just because of that, but I do think like this is probably a lower A tier, high B tier type of album. Like it's kind of on the cusp right there, but I think it's still good enough for me to put an A tier, so that is where it's going to reside. The Loud album. Oh, this album. This album probably gives me nostalgia in the best way. It just has, again, a lot of hits, but I think even the smaller hits or the smaller singles that she released were also really enjoyable too. So it opens up with S&M, which I mean, wow. She said this album's gonna be loud and she was not joking. That song is extremely catchy. Then she has What's My Name featuring Drake. I'm pretty sure everyone knows that song. Anyone who's watching this video has gotta know that song. And then some of the other singles from this album are Only Girl in the World, Man Down, and I want to also say California King Bed. I mean, it had a music video, so it's got to be considered a single. But I don't think too many people know that song. And yeah, I think another great song in this album is Cheers, Drink to That, which also features a sample of an Avril Lavigne song of all songs. And in that original song, Avril Lavigne kind of sounds sad and emotional in it. But on this song, it was sampled in a more happy, upbeat type of song. It's literally about drinking to the weekend, you know? Being happy that it is the weekend and just having a drink and partying and having a good time. And that's it. And not really caring about what's going on with other people in terms of their opinions of you. So, that was a good message. I also think there's a song on here called Raining Men featuring Nicki Minaj. So underrated. I didn't even know the song existed until like a couple of years ago, if not like within the past year. So underrated, so fun, so funny. So I would say like this production quality, especially on this song in particular, not dated at all. I could listen to it now and it could have sounded like it came out today. Like the production quality was very high quality at that point. So another great song on this album, underrated, Skin. So good. So good. It's like a little more slow paced, but like I don't want to say techno, but the music is more electronically based, I would say. And it's kind of catchy. It's pretty catchy. Like I feel like you could sing along to it and really enjoy it, but even if you weren't singing along to it, it's just a great song to listen to. So, yeah, man, this album, again, Rihanna's always done a really great job in terms of having really good hits, and I would mostly attribute that to the songwriters that she's gotten. She's gotten some pretty great songwriters on her albums, songwriters and producers as well. But I don't mean that to take any, like, I'm not saying that just to take anything away from Rihanna. I think it's a good thing if you could get good writers and be able to have them write songs for one specific singer and they're able to sing it and have everything sound great. That's a good thing. I'm not an elitist when it comes to music. Like I am in terms of how much credit I give an artist, right? So like I'm not going to give Rihanna more credit than Shakira, who writes her music. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to discount Rihanna's songs because she didn't write them all herself. You know what I mean? I don't think that's right either. So I think I'm pretty fair in terms of how much love I show to these artists and especially to the songs that they perform and or write. So to rank this album, let me think. This album also has Love the Way You Lie Part 2 in it, and I think Rihanna has some pretty good vocals on that song. I know a lot of people like to say that Rihanna's not the best vocalist, but I feel like she really showcases her talents when it comes to singing on Love the Way You Lie Part 2. I feel like that kind of shuts down any of these criticisms that she gets that like, oh, Rihanna can't sing, she's not really that good of a singer. She can, and I think she has the potential especially. And she shows it sometimes. It's not just, oh, she has the potential and she never shows it. No, I think on this song she really showcases her singing abilities. And even Man Down too, to be honest. Dude, I love Man Down. I still listen to Man Down to this day. Such an underrated song. See, that's Rihanna doing a reggae song the right way. You know what I mean? I feel like all those boring reggae songs she had in her first two albums, it's like she had to go back and be like, no, listen, you guys, I really could do a genuinely good reggae song. Just give me another chance. And then she came out with Man Down. Amazing. Amazing. So, let's see. I'm gonna say that this album so I'll say this. I think because it has a couple of skips in my opinion. Like I would skip Fading and I would skip Complicated. But that's only 2 songs to skip. You know what? 2 songs, that's such a short number of songs compared to all the other songs on this album. I have to give this album an S tier. I would say this is like low S tier, high A tier. But I don't think it'd be fair to be like, well, technically there's a couple skips, so I can't say it's a no skips album, so it's going to be A tier, when it's like, I would only skip two of the songs. And honestly, it wouldn't even really be torturous to listen to them. And then the rest of the songs are just so good, in my opinion. I like them a lot. So I think I could fairly give this an S tier. It's not my most emphatic S tier album. It's not my most confident ranking of an S tier album. But I think, like, if I can't rank this S tier, my standards are super strict. You know, like, I'll have to use super strict standards. So I think I'm just going to stick with having this be an S tier album. So now we're getting into Talk That Talk. And so this album, again, this is Rihanna, so she's going to have hits. So she has Where Have You Been and We Found Love, which were huge at the time. Enormous songs at the time. I remember when those songs were out on the radio and I was like, man, Rihanna's still making hits. She's still releasing hits, great hits that are playing on the radio 24/7. Because you have to remember that these albums came out like 1 year after the other, consecutively. She maybe missed like a year, you know? So she had Good Girl Gone Bad. Actually, no, I think she had Music of the Sun 2005, Girl Like Me 2006, Good Girl Gone Bad 2007. Then she even had Good Girl Gone Bad Reloaded 2008, Rated R 2009, Loud 2010. Now we're in 2011, and it's Talk That Talk. And then she still has another album after this one in the next year. So, yeah, so she does an amazing job again in this album when it comes to coming out with singles. I would say this album probably has less singles than most of her other albums, but that's not to say that the other songs that aren't singles aren't great songs. So she actually also has You to One. That's the opening track of the album. I love that song. And it's so weird. I remember listening to that song at the time that it came out, but I didn't know it had a music video back then. I somehow missed the memo of the music video existing, but I do remember listening to that song back when this album came out. And then we have the title track of Talk That Talk featuring Jay-Z. Really great song. It is a really good song. If you haven't listened to it, I recommend it because it's super danceable and just enjoyable to listen to. Like, I still play this song to this day. I still go out of my way to listen to this song to this day. So if you haven't listened to Talk That Talk, the title track of the album, I highly recommend it. Oh, and I remember, this is not good, but I remember when this album came out, the next track on this album, Cockiness, Love It. Love that song. Super catchy, very repetitive lyrics, but the beat is like, you know, when you listen to a song, it's kind of like an earworm. So it's like very repetitive. There's not much variation in the lyrics or anything, but the melody just sticks in your head and you just really enjoy listening to it. That's how I feel about the song Cockiness, Love It. So if you haven't listened to that, also listen to that. And then we have Birthday Cake, which is kind of an interlude, to be honest. Love it. Love that song. Such a great song. Drunk on Love, which everybody knows about Beyonce's Drunk in Love, but do you know about Rihanna's Drunk on Love? She actually features a sample of the XX's song. What is it called? Intro. There's a sample of it. So in the XX's song of Intro, it's just an instrumental piece. It's really just that, and it's mostly like the guitar and drum beat. Honestly, she kind of almost just takes that song, adds a little bit more layers of music on top of it, and then just sings over it. And when I say she, I mean like the writers of the song. I don't remember if she had any involvement in writing this song or not. But regardless, she has really great vocals on this song. And I like the lyrics of the song a lot. And I love the original piece that they sampled off of. So I love the XX's intro. So the XX is the name of the group, and I'm just referring to their song Intro. I think it was a job well done in terms of taking that instrumental piece and making it a song that you sing along to. Song with lyrics, song with vocals. And it's underrated. It's really not that well known, but it's a really good song. It's not, I wouldn't say it's like Drunk in Love, where it's more danceable and almost even more singable. I would say the song is like a little more emotional, and it's a song you more so listen to more than anything else. So that's a good song. Ooh, and then there's these next couple songs. There's Rock Me Out and there's Watch and Learn. I love both of those songs. Watch and Learn it's a little funny. It's like, I would say like it's a light song. It's like a happier song. It's kind of danceable, but it's a little funny the way the beat goes, I feel like. And then Rock Me Out is just, I would say like mid-tempo when it comes to the pace, but that one I feel like is one that you can kind of dance along to and even sing along to and just kind of feel yourself listening to that song. So, yeah, I would say Talk That Talk is a really great album. It's a solid album. It's a super enjoyable album for sure. I gotta be honest, again, only two skips. And again, not that big a deal of skips. So I am gonna have to place Talk That Talk. And you know what? I shouldn't say have to. I'm gonna put Talk That Talk in S tier. And I'm gonna do it with a smile on my face and with joy. Because this album is great. I wanna say I like Talk That Talk more than Loud. So I think that this is more solidly in S tier than Loud is. So yeah, this is joining Loud in S tier. I love it. I do love this album. So now, we are reaching what I believe to be Rihanna's magnum opus, Unapologetic. In my opinion, this is her best album. You can disagree. Just let me know why and let me know what you really think her magnum opus is. Or if you think she hasn't reached that point yet. I disagree. But Unapologetic, coming out in 2012, so just the next year after Talk That Talk came out. I loved this album when it came out. I listened to this album probably a million times at the time that it came out. I would say this is a No Skips album, and I'm gonna say right now this is an S tier album. This is the only album I'm like immediately ranking, but I'm ranking it as S tier. No skips in my opinion. There's some songs that I kind of rarely listen to, but like if I were to play the album through, I genuinely wouldn't skip any of them if they were to come on. Like I just don't like them as much as the other songs, and I don't go out of my way to listen to those songs, but they're not skips by any means. So I want to give a shout out to Fresh Out the Runway. I don't know if you remember that moment of Rihanna performing at the Victoria's Secret fashion show. And then she sang this song and then just proceeded to have the best catwalk out of all the models. And she's not even the model, she's a singer. Amazing. Amazing. I would insert a clip of that if I could, but I think I would get claimed, so I'd rather not. But look it up if you don't remember. Rihanna, Fresh Out the Runway, Victoria's Secret. Look it up. Dude, her outfit during that performance, stunning. Stunning. When I say she's a fashion icon, she truly is a fashion icon. We also have Diamonds. I think Diamonds is great. I do feel like it's a little overplayed, but it is a classic of hers, so I have no complaints about it when it comes to that. But I'm not gonna lie, I don't go out of my way to play Diamonds just because of how overplayed it was. Underrated song on this album, and it's the next song in this order of songs that I'm reading off of. Numb featuring Eminem. Dude, if you don't know that song, you gotta go listen to it. The production might sound a little, not outdated, but a little low quality, like a little cheap sounding almost. But if you could get over that, I think you'll like the song a lot. I really love that song. And then for the fourth track of the album, we got Pour It Up. I think you already know enough about that song. That's a great song. I love that song. And speaking of Love Song, which is the next song on this album featuring Future. This is actually the first song that I've heard Future on ever. So this was my introduction to Future's music. So I just think that's interesting that, at least in my opinion and in my mind, Rihanna put Future on the map. That's how I feel about it anyway. We have Jump, which is kind of good. There's a sample, or I guess it's considered an interpolation, but whatever. Regardless, there's a clear reference to the Genuine song, Pony. It's clearly featured on this song, and it's pretty good. I think it's a good way to modernize that song a little bit. It's not the most amazing song. I think the song does a pretty good job at sampling that hit. So I don't think it was done poorly or anything. There's Right Now featuring David Guetta. I think that song is okay. I don't think it's the most amazing song. But if I'm ever feeling nostalgic for the album in general, I'll play that song and I'll listen to it and I'll enjoy it. It's fast paced. It's like a very classic David Guetta type of sound to it in terms of the electronic beats. It's very David Guetta. So if you like David Guetta's music, but you haven't really listened to everything, give Right Now a listen to. But I will say I don't love it that much, to be honest. There's What Now, which I also really liked. I remember when the music video came out. Love Stay. I feel like everyone loves Stay. It's just a classic. Nobody's Business featuring Chris Brown, which is like kind of controversial when you think about it. So they interpolate slash sample Michael Jackson's The Way You Make Me Feel. That's why it's called Nobody's Business. There's a part in the song where he says, Ain't nobody's business. So, yeah. Love Without Tragedy slash Mother Mary, underrated. So underrated. Unbelievably underrated. Just listen to it. That's all I could say. I would say it's there's a story to it, and it's kind of sad, and she kind of almost takes you on a journey through this story and through her emotions. And it's not boring. Like, it's not one of those boring sad songs or like a ballad or anything. No, it's like the music still is like kind of interesting, but she's speaking a story through it. So if you've never listened to that and you're in the mood for a song that's a little more serious but not boring to listen to Love Without Tragedy slash Mother Mary. I think Get It Over With, it's okay. I honestly don't really listen to it much, so I can't say much about it. But then her next two songs, so the last two songs that close out the album, No Love Allowed, love this song. Another reggae song, done right though. Done right, just like Man Down, it's done right. But it doesn't have the same vibe as Man Down at all. I would say No Love Allowed. It's a little more subdued. It's a calmer song, I would say. Despite it being more calm and more simple, I would also say it's more simple. I would say it's simple in a good way. I would say it's simple almost like in a classic way. And if you want to listen to a reggae song sung by Rihanna, I would suggest No Love Allowed. This is a song I go out of my way to play to this day. I didn't mean to rhyme so much, but here I am. Yeah, I really love the song No Love Allowed. I go out of my way to listen to it. I still listen to it to this day. I loved it even when it came out. It's a solid song. I think it's a song that kind of can last the test of time. I mean, it's lasted 11 years and the production doesn't sound dated to me at all. It still sounds really great today in 2023, just as good as it did in 2012. So I really love that song. And then I also really love Lost in Paradise. I would say the production level of that song does sound a little bit dated, but not so much so that I can't enjoy the sound of the song. I think it sounds a little dated, but I can still enjoy it. The same way a lot of 80s songs sound super dated, but you can kind of ignore it because you know you're listening to an 80s song and you're going into that experience prepared for that and almost wanting that. So then you don't really get bothered by it. That's how I feel about Lost in Paradise. Like when I listen to it and I remember, hey, this is 2012 production, but then I go into it being like, I want to listen to the song by Rihanna. It's a great song. It's just slightly outdated. If you were to listen to it in 2023, you'd be like, oh yeah, this is clearly using production sounds that were popular in 2012. But I still like it a lot. So yeah, last but certainly not least, we have Anti. Rihanna takes a 4-year hiatus before she releases this album, and I'm not gonna lie, at the time, I didn't like it. I thought, like, Love on the Brain, for example, I thought that was Rihanna kind of trying to sound like some other singer. Like, she's trying to sound like she's somebody who sings ballads, but she's not somebody who sings ballads. That's how I felt at the time. I think now, I definitely like the song a lot more. And I could be like, you know what, yeah, this is a Rihanna song. So I do feel like it's more authentic to her now than I did back in 2016. Not that she's never made emotional songs or ballad type of songs, but it's more like the genre of the song itself. It felt very like almost old school jazz slash R&B, like a combination of the two. And it felt like at the time, I just felt like Rihanna was trying to be like, oh, look at me, I'm this like amazing singer. And I felt like it was a little inauthentic. I didn't like it. But now I just enjoy the song. I enjoy the great vocals. And it's not the worst thing in the world that she's sitting there being like, listen, I really can sing, you know? And the songs are pretty relatable. And the lyrics are pretty relatable too, to be honest. So I love the song Work featuring Drake. I don't even think it was overplayed. If anything, I wish it was played more. I love that song. I still listen to that song to this day. Desperado, I didn't really listen to that when it came out. That's something I really only got into like recently, within the past few months even. But I love that song now. Needed Me, I loved at the time, I'll be honest. I really did love that song at the time. But I will say, when it comes to these other songs, they're okay. So, really, if I'm being honest, like to this day, and I did give this album a listen to, it's just most of it I only listened to recently. But that being said, I don't like Kiss It Better. I never liked Kiss It Better. I didn't like it when it came out. I don't really like it now. So, with that in mind, I would say the songs I like are Work, Desperado, Needed Me, and Love on the Brain. And considering that it's like, I only really like four of these songs, and the rest of them, I actually just actively dislike, to be honest. So I think I'm actually going to have to rank Anti a C tier album. I think it's a C tier album. That might be an extremely unpopular opinion. And if it is, please let me know why. Please let me know what you would rank it as, if not C. If you would rank it higher, why? If you would rank it lower, why? I rank it as C just because even though I don't like that many songs on the album, the songs I like I really love. And again, I think I'm just so biased towards Rihanna in general. I just really love the sound of her music. I feel like she has really catchy songs. And so if she has even a few that are really great to me, I'll already rank an album like this a C. Whereas if it's some other artist and I don't really like their songs as much, even their best songs, they would probably be ranked a D, you know? So, yeah, sorry, it's not my fault that Rihanna makes great singles. But anyway, that is my opinion of Anti. And again, I want to hear your opinions if they're different. But with all of that being said, this is my tier list. This is my tier list of Rihanna's albums. I'm not going to lower Loud. I think Loud genuinely is an S tier album. I know I wasn't super confident earlier on into this video when I was explaining why I think it's S tier, but to have Loud, Talk That Talk, and Unapologetic as S tier albums, I think is super fair. I think having Rated R as an A tier album is also fair. And I'm sorry, but I do not like Rihanna's earlier albums. I don't like A Girl Like Me. I don't like Music of the Sun. But to be honest, I don't think that's an unpopular opinion. I think most people don't really care for those albums and possibly don't even really know of those albums. Like, they know the singles of those albums, but they never really listen to the whole thing, let's be honest. So, what do you think about these albums? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? If you do disagree, how so? Please let me know your opinions in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel. And I hope to see you in the next video. Peace.